Welcome to the Compass Chronicles podcast, where fandom meets faith. This show explores the intersection of popular culture and biblical truth. From anime and gaming to comics and film, each episode examines the stories we love through the lens of faith that is thoughtful, grounded, and real. This is a space for honest conversation, deeper reflection, and fresh perspective. And now, here are your hosts, Javier and Mickey.
Compass Chronicles podcast. I want to welcome you all today. This is our first episode with a live guest, and I want to also introduce my co-host with the most, Mickey. You can introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Compass Chronicles. Glad to be here and super excited that we have our first guest on today. Can't wait till we talk about who he is. So we'll let Javier tell you all about who Rory is.
Yes. So we're excited to have one of the coolest people I know, and one of the nicest and most, what can I say, most, how you call it? You have a lot of patience. Very patient person, super patient. And so we have Rory Paquette. He is the host of about 6 or 7 podcasts that I can't remember right now. I remember all of them. What? Well, anyway, I'm going to let Rory answer everything. Rory, thank you so much for being our first official guest on the Compass Chronicles podcast. So I'll let you introduce yourself, and welcome.
All right. Well, thank you both. I love the team up. I really do. I've had the incredible blessing to work with both of you individually, and I think you guys are both great, and I just love being here. So thank you for that. And Javier, I appreciate you returning the favor. You were my first guest on Wake Up the Lions, which is one of my podcasts.
Yes.
So that was very, very cool. Before I even had anything going, I was like, hey, I don't know where this is going.
Right.
But I want you to be a guest. You're like, let's do it.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Love it.
Thank
Happy to return the favor. But my name is Rory Paquette. I am a husband, a father, a brother in Christ, a podcaster, speaker, and podcast coach, speaker coach. And other than that, I mean, goodness, I have 7 podcasts that I do, which, I guess we'll talk about at some point through all of these. But the 3 biggest ones are Power of Man, The Podcaster Nation, and Wake Up the Lions. After that, I have 4 more, and then I have 2 more that are actually in development right now that hopefully will be released before the end of January that we're working on. And I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
We are excited for you to be here. I know me and Mickey were talking before and about all that we've been, everything that's happened and everything that's going on. And just, I'm excited to have all this coming to, it's almost like a closing of everything that I've wanted. I've always wanted a co-host. I always wanted to have guests. So to me, this is full circle, going better than I thought. 2026 is already starting off greater than I thought. So anyway, so everyone, welcome to the show. And today we're just going to talk about, I know that we are a fandom podcast. We talk about pop culture. We talk about stuff that happens in the world. But today I think we're going to talk about social media. Social media is a huge and can be a very long and tedious subject and topic. But we want to talk about how it's affected faith, how it's affected family lives, how it's affected the world in general. What's the positive? What's the negative? Because everything has a positive and negative, right? And how we want to ask the questions to everyone, how do they use social media? What are they, what makes them be on social media? What gives them that? Or what helps them? So to start off, I think social media in a lot of ways, as I said, can be useful and can be detrimental. As we can see in this world, social media can destroy some person's life immediately. And there's technically no getting away from it. Like they say, once it's in the internet, it's done. It's there forever. And I've seen people abuse it. I've seen people make mockery of God with it. I've seen people, I've read things that are like, oh my God, what? But then I've also seen the blessing of it, especially from my side. And I think from our sides, how we use social media to share God's word more, to share our faith more, to speak to people more, to show the world that there's other conversations to have, other things to do. So, but like I said, social media can be used in so many great ways and so many bad ways. But Mickey, we were talking before, and I'm going to let you go into that subject that we were talking before, and we'll go from there, and then we'll let Rory go, or we can all jump in, whatever. So
Okay.
it's
Awesome.
a hodgepodge here.
Yeah, we were talking before we started recording and jumped on here today that social media has such an impact. It could be in a good way or a bad way. And one thing it has good impact is we can reach people all across the world where before we couldn't. But the negative side is that I think that we are longing more to reach people across the world, but we forget who our neighbors are because they live right next door. We're so busy on social media that we lose some connections with people that are right next to us, opposed to trying to reach those across the world. So I think you got to really find that balance with social media because it can become destructive, and it can, really be detrimental to your life if you let it. Now, if you have control over it, that's a good thing. I was reading something about algorithms, and something I thought was interesting is like, do you get discipled through Christ and Scripture, or do you get discipled through algorithms? And I thought that kind of struck
Good
me, and I
one.
thought, wow, that's kind of some food for thought when we're getting ready to talk about social media today.
Yes, facts.
And
Yeah.
I was like, man, how worried are we about our algorithms, guys, opposed to how worried are we about how much discipleship we're getting? And we can disciple through social media. We can disciple one another, and we can get discipleship through social media. But if we are shifting gears to where the algorithm is more important than the discipleship, then we need to take a step back and take a look at what we're diving into, is where I think we should be paying attention to social media. But it has a lot of great benefits. I would have met probably either one of you had I not been on social media.
True.
You would not
Yeah,
have met
true.
me. We have not met hundreds of people that we have come across in this lifetime, as we have met, and the lives that can get impacted through social media is phenomenal. Now there is some, downside to it because, like they say, there's a lot of negative Nellies, and there's the loud Karens, and there's the whatever names you want to call people, which I think is absolutely uncalled for, but they just do it anyway. I think it's immature behavior, but we're gonna meet all walks of life on here, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, or you can jump in and you could just, jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. I know people that like to just watch the comments. They're like, I'm here for the comments. I'm here for the comments. And it drives me crazy because I'm like, that's all they do is entertain themselves with other people's comments. So I don't know if you guys can relate with me or not, but that's kind of where I stand with social media. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I love that I get to share the gospel of Jesus Christ through my podcasts, and I get to meet wonderful people like you. I've created some great friendships along the way, and I think there are some really good benefits to it. But I just do think that we need to balance ourselves, and we need to be careful, and we need to be wise about it. What do you think, Rory?
Wow. I love what you both had to say. Frankly, I don't think I could disagree with anything that either one of you said. We all know that unfortunately social media is vital in building the businesses that we're in. If you're in an online business, if you're running a podcast, there really is no replacement for it. Unfortunately, you need it. I think the key is very much like what you were talking about, Mickey, is how are you being discipled is a perfect way of putting that. We all have algorithms that are working on us, and too many of us don't understand that. They censor our news feeds. They censor what we see. They censor what we think, what we feel. When you make a comment, sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't. We are pawns in a bigger game on social media, unfortunately. And the goal is to have us fighting with one another. And that's just that. So they accomplished their goal. I can tell you that I've used social media intrinsically to build 7 podcasts and continue to do so. That any of my students who work social media and do it the way I teach them to do it all have success on social media and their podcasts grow. I can also tell you that I've received 4 absolute, honest to goodness, death threats in my life. All have come via social media in some way, shape, or form. So, you got to take the good with the bad. But the one thing that I will also say is you really have to be aware of policing your own social media. And Mickey brought up comments. I have a policy when it comes to social media, when it comes to my comments, and that is the positive ones can stay. And the negative ones, it's bless, block, delete.
Amen.
And that is exactly it.
Perfect. Yeah.
I bless the person who left the comment talking about how horrible I am and everything else, because they really need it in their lives if they're that angry at a post on social media. You block them because there's absolutely no reason to hear any more from that person. Clearly, they're sad. And then, release/delete, because I'm not going to leave that comment there to poison everyone else who sees that post, who may read the comments, because so many of us go and read the comments. So I don't allow them to spread, their venom and their hate and their poison on my posts. And I think too often, because we're so worried about engagement and, we got to have engagement. We got to have all these other things social media tells us we got to have, and got to have comments. And no, you don't. You got to have stewardship over your own social media. And people don't pay attention to that. So they leave the negative comment, and then they think if they interact, that's helping them with their interaction and their engagement. And no, it's not. Okay. It's validating, this person who is simply there to be a troll. And the last thing I'll say is that there are people who are paid, a lot of them, who get paid to engage as trolls. So they get on there, they spread hate, and when they get people to hate them back, they understand what that's doing to everybody who's watching it, and they get paid to engage. So whenever we see something that we object to and we comment back, we are helping them make money on that comment, on that post, and we're actually furthering the hate. And so I think people need to just educate themselves about what they're doing, and I think have stewardship over their social media a little bit better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think, especially in where I come from, when I started the podcast, when it comes to pop culture and social media and pop culture and stuff, you deal with people that are mostly not going to be faith-based, or they're not going to be Christians. They're going to be, they're going to be against it. They're either going to write a bad comment or whatever, but that's expected, right? Because as Christians, there's always going to be a negative to whatever we do. The world is never going to like what we do, ever. But I also agree with you about the delete and remove part. But there's also a little caveat to that, where if a person sometimes may make a remark, and if you kind of read it, they may be asking for help in a way that you don't know. And I sometimes read that, especially with the guys that I deal with. A lot of them have depression issues or mental health or family issues. And sometimes they'll make a remark almost like a question, but it's not really a question. So I kind of not, I know they're being negative because they're hurting, but they're also asking for help. So there's also a little bit of that as well. But I understand the trollers. Professional disruptors are everywhere. They get paid to do that. We see it now in everywhere we look. Now they're professional disruptors. And those are the people that like you said, we have to use wisdom. We have to use common sense, logic. Just look, if you think that person is going to just be, like you said, a negative nanny, and just leave that there, and it's just going to feud other people, because other people are going to comment. No matter what you do, if you leave that up there, someone's going to comment that person. Either they're going to defend you or they're going to defend that person. And that could bring it down to a dark hole where you don't want to be. And that can destroy your whole post, your whole, whatever you were trying to say out there, or whatever you wanted to do, it can destroy it. And I'll be one of the first ones. Oh, go ahead, Rory. I'm so sorry.
I just said amen. That was it.
Oh,
amen.
Okay. Yeah, no. I mean, and when what Mickey said about the algorithms, when I first started, and I'll be honest with you, I was doing that. I was trying to really fix and see what my algorithm was and how I can, but I wasn't doing it I was doing it where I can reach more people. Now, I honestly, like when I've spoken to Mickey and Rory in our interviews, I don't care if one person listens to it and just says, I accept Christ, or I can start looking, I'm good. I'm perfect. But I also see, like you said, social media we can't live without it, right? This world cannot function without social media anymore. No matter how we try and say it, it just does not function. We come from Generation X, where we didn't have this. We were one of the forefronts. We were there in the beginning when AOL started, and you got mail and all that. And you had your chats, you had your private chats and those things. And mom would pick up the phone like, and things like that. But you can see from there how it, you had those chat rooms where oh my God, they were like Wild Wild West back then. There was no such thing as moderators or anything like that. It was crazy and fun. But then I seen where it's grown from. I remember when we had MySpace, all the way to, I've been on Facebook. I've been on Facebook since it started, when it was just college kids. One of my friends' son had a college, and he got me an account, and I've been on there since then. Now I've changed a lot, but I've seen Facebook grow. I've seen Instagram grow. I've seen, Twitter. Well, I still call it Twitter. I will never call it X. I don't care. It's Twitter for me. It'll always be Twitter. But I also see, like you said, they block our messages. Sometimes we send stuff out and no one sees it, or it doesn't go anywhere. You get no remarks, or and you're like, but I know somebody saw it, but sometimes they block it. And that's the world we live in. I mean, that's algorithm for you. YouTube does it, everywhere does it. But I do agree with you guys that it can be used for the most positive things in the world, from meeting one of your old friends that you haven't seen in 20 years and catch up, to meeting like I meet you guys. To me, it's been a blessing meeting everyone that I've met through social media and the podcast and everything. I thought I would never. I'm one of the most, I'm a loner. I don't really have many close friends or acquaintances like that, because, after a while, when you get burned so much, you start to really be protective of yourself. So, but you start to meet all these new people, and you start to learn, and it's exciting. To me, it's exciting. And social media is exciting to me. It can get really beautiful, but it can get really bad. But, you guys can stop me, because I can yap all day.
I think sometimes we can get fixated. Is that such a word?
Yeah, for sure.
With social media to a point where we just let it get out of control sometimes. I mean, I've been in a few heated conversations, and then I've had regrets for it. And then I've also been scrolling along, and I'll see a conversation that'll kind of strike me the wrong way. And that's where we get to make the decision. Am I going to jump in on this and put my 2 cents, or is it really going to make a difference? And I always ask myself this question when I think like that, even if it's something I disagree with or I'm irritated about, because it's okay to have different opinions. But the thing is we know it's going to offend someone somewhere when you have a difference in opinion. So I always ask myself, is this going to be helpful or harmful? That's the question. If it's not going to be helpful, then I'm not going to put a comment. So, or if it is, it better be a helpful comment, or just keep on scrolling, just pass it all together, because I want to make a better influence. I don't want to be a negative. There's enough of that out there already. And I get, like I said, I get blown away when I read people's comments and stuff. And like you said, Rory, they will feed off from each other, and it becomes a poison. They start attacking each other through the comments, and it had nothing to do with the original post sometimes. And it's just out of hand, and it's just ridiculous. And I see people just act just so immature. And I think, man, I wonder sometimes I look at their little picture on the side, and I think, this is like a guy in his 60s. What is he doing? He's acting like he's 12 years old, like having a tantrum. And so when I see this, it kind of really makes me reflect on myself and go, how do I want to behave? How do I want to react? How do I want people to see me? Because I want people to see what I worship is good. The things that I like and enjoy in the world. I worship God. I worship, what God does for me, and the people in my lives that I care about. I don't want them to see, the only thing she cares about is all of the negative impact that the world has. We want to bring good impact to the world. And there, like you said, Rory, there are some people that literally just go to the extreme. And I didn't know people got paid for that, by the way. I should have been signed up for that a long time ago, because I think I could have made some money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I used to be, I used to not be as nice as I am now. So I think I could have been on that. But, God's changed my heart. So it's probably a good thing I didn't know about it. But I think people that are listening are probably taking notes right now, because I think they're like, you can get paid for this? I think I'm going to look into this information. I had no idea. So, but yeah, that I just about cracked up laughing when you started talking about that. But because it is true. Sometimes we don't think about that. We don't look into it. We don't research what we're actually doving into. And it's like, we want to know, we need to be prepared with stuff. And then when we do get faced with it, we're shocked. Like we had no idea because we didn't
Mm-hmm.
do our homework. So I just encourage people, to take their time and invest a little time in checking things out, not just dive right into every single thing you see or read. I mean, there's so much social media out there that you could dive into everything if you wanted. So you got to be really careful.
Yeah.
So, Rory, I have a couple of questions for you, especially in the field that you're in when it comes to social media, because
Yep.
you are a uh, counselor and you talk to people and you help them out. What have you seen that's been the most difficult for people to understand how to use social media in their ministry or in whatever they decide to do? How, how would you tell them to go into it first and how to use it, or how they've been using it in the wrong way? Like, how would you talk to them about that?
It's a great question. I think the biggest problem with social media is, in fact, the ignorance of it. We all get into it and we try to figure it out. And, especially Gen Xers, we don't read instructions. We start something, we figure it out, and the instructions are not part of it. So it's like, oh, if I hit this, it posts. Oh, okay, got it. What we do is we see things that make us feel good or that we think are effective, and then we try to imitate. And that really is all anybody does when they get on social media and they have no idea what they're doing. People spend hours and hours making like this, film-worthy, Summit Film Festival reel that is going to get 4 views because, instead of spending all that time on what you're putting out, you should be spending time on building your audience. People are told by Facebook, here's how you build your audience. You must have engagement. That only helps Facebook. Engagement doesn't help you as the person, even though they tell you it does. What helps you is views. People have to step out of what they hear and what they think is the way it works, and understand that all social media really is at its base when it comes to businesses is advertising. That's all it is. It's another way of advertising. I had my greatest success when I figured out how to use social media for my purposes. And I'll share this with folks. I tell people this in my training. Views matter. That's what matters. And people go, well, no, all this other stuff matters too. Engagement and followers. Okay. Here's a little clue, if I may digress, and a little piece of advice for everybody who has a podcast. I recently had someone that I was working with who said, oh, man, my followers are going down. So what you're doing isn't working. And I'm like, okay, listen to me. The first thing that happens when you go from being a casual Facebook person to running a business and trying to put out a podcast, for instance, is your followers are going to go down. Why? Because they've been following you because they know you, because they want to be associated with you, because they want to see the pictures of your kids or your puppy or your barbecue. When you start posting regularly about your podcast, about your book, about your project, about your membership, well, all of a sudden they go, oh, well, I'm not really interested in that. You know what? I don't want to follow Rory anymore. I'll still be friends with him, but I don't want to follow him anymore because I don't want to see that in my feed all day. That's what you want, because that's not someone who's going to listen to your podcast. Right. That isn't someone who's going to buy your book. They're not going to buy your product or your service. And when you start using Facebook as a business, you literally stop using it as social communication. People can't wrap their heads around that. Okay. I own a social media company called Powerhouse Productions. We teach people how to do their own social media to grow. We also do it for them. I have a lot of podcasters I coach who are like, I don't have any time to do all the social media I have to do to grow the podcast. I say, great, my company will do it for you. Just pay them. And we're off and we're running. And one of my clients was like, wow, my followers are down. And I had already gone over this with him. And I said, that just means it's working, because you have to separate those. Now, once you've done that, then you go with views, because you want to try to get new followers who are not following you because, you're named Javier or because they like the way Mickey's earrings look. Okay. They're following you because they like your podcast, right? Because they like your book, because they love your message.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want. So you literally have to like decrease the ones that are there just because and increase the ones who are there because they want to be there. Once that happens, you're on your way to becoming a successful, business on social media. People don't get that. So I think that's the biggest thing is people don't understand
Mm-hmm.
how to use it for what they want to do.
Wow, I'm taking that for myself right now because I'm guilty of in the beginning using that. I sometimes and I tell people, and it may be sound horrible, but Christians are sometimes eat our own wounded. We eat our own wounded. We eat people that are down. We kind of like we don't support our own sometimes. You would expect it, because like you just said, these are all pretty much people in a personal way, not in a business way. So when they see all that stuff, they're looking at you as a friend. But when you start, like you said, you start putting out, I've seen that when I start putting out more stuff on the podcast, on the Sasquatch Studios and all that, you start to see the difference. You start to see that certain people are no longer commenting, but you have outside commenters. So you do see that, and I agree with that. But now that I learned that, you just changed my whole head around because now, thank you. You see, I get free advice on the show. Shh. Look at you.
Killing me. I've literally told you that before. Like
I know.
straight up,
but,
meeting
but,
you on a Zoom call.
hey, what are you gonna do? I'm my mind. The '60s were bad. What can I tell you?
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he coached me on that. I
Hey!
remember that part of the coaching class that I took that he gave.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mickey.
no.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate that.
Sorry about that, bro. Hey, I've never been one to follow rules to per se or remember rules anyway. But
It's
yeah,
always good to know that your work has impact. That just fills you up when your work has impact like that.
I'm not gonna let this one down, guys. I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna have to just post on everything. Well, Rory told me to do this, so I'm doing it like this because he told me.
By all means, continue, brother. I mean,
whatever. Of course.
I can't wait to hear the next one.
And, I'm just digging my own hole every minute here. But like you said before, when you start to, it depends on what you want to use social media for as well. If like us, we're podcasters, we're content creators, we write, we do all, so we have to look at it as not social, as more of a business. Now, back then, in the beginning, Facebook was for your friends, was to meet your friends and see you, and I still use it like that. I still find friends that I haven't seen in years and talk to them, but to look at it in that way, to say, I have to focus. If I want this to grow, I have to focus on social media as a business model, not as just a social friends model. And also the negative part, people will use it to abuse power and to create their own dynamic in whatever they want to do and create their own world in social media. And I've seen pages where I've gone in and I'm like, whoa, this is really on Facebook? Like, wow. And some of the really dark stuff, like really, really like, you see where that danger is, but they're using pretty much the same model. They know what they need to do, and they're going to use that in order to get the people to, you want people to talk back to you. You want people to have a conversation, but you also want them to have a conversation where they understand what they're talking about, or that they can understand what you're trying to say. You don't want people to get confused. Not that everybody's going to agree with us, because the world doesn't agree with what we have to say 90% of the time. But if we can say it in a way where they feel conviction, but also makes them think and makes them, well, that kind of sounds okay. Let me look into it, or let me figure this out. So I think we can use social media that way, especially with us, with the Compass Chronicles, where we mix pop culture into faith is a very big deal, especially when it comes to movies and music and stuff. Everybody has their opinions, their thoughts. I believe everything that is created by God, and the imagination that God has given. Be it bad, be it good, it's an imagination that God has put in their head. And all of us, in what Mickey does in her podcasts and her stuff, and Rory with all your podcasts and shows and stuff, God gave us that imagination, that creation, because He is the ultimate creator. And so that's the way I see what we do. But so what I want to ask people also, if they want to, what made you get into social media? Like what led you into, because there are people that are our age that never touch social media. They will not get on it. They will not do Facebook. They will not. But then there are people that are our age that are just getting into social media. They just started. And, what are their interests? Like what made them at 40 years old decide, I want to get a Facebook page or whatever, like things like that. Because social media can be a young person's game. It is a young person's game per se. Because if you look at TikTok, it's all young person's game. Instagram, it's also young. Facebook, you still got our oldies here, and you still got the people that dealt back in the day. Mostly the age bracket in Facebook is now between 30 and 50, I think now. The younger people are more on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, or other social media platforms that I don't even bother with. There's too many now. But, and I see that happening a lot, like more of the older people trying to get into the social media world just because they kind of feel lost without it. Because I'm sorry, but a lot of news, no matter what you do, comes through social media. Most people get their news through Twitter, through X, or they read it on a Facebook blog or something. They get their social. So, I see that as a way also of getting things across to older people who may not, understand it. But, I was just talking to my mom today because she was amazed at what we do. And she goes, "You're going to talk on a computer?" It's like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm going to have a whole conversation. She goes, and don't get me wrong, my mom has a Facebook page. My mom has an Instagram page. She's 7, almost 80 years old, and she is social media savvy. I mean, it helps that I help her. But, she got on there at a very late age. She got on social media. But she loves it. She sees a lot of things positive. She watches her Bible studies, her pastor on there. So, there's some things that can benefit us. But she also says that there's a lot of things that she's scared to watch. That she goes, "Oh my God, they put that on there." And, but as Christians, we have to be aware of what we watch on social media, because we can't go down a rabbit hole and not realize that we're going down that hole. I have this app that I went on. It's almost like a TikTok sort of app, but this app has no filter. It doesn't have any blocks, and like you can see real graphic stuff, like real murder. So like there's no block, and I started seeing how negative that started to make me feel, even though I was watching it just to see what it was all about. And I can see how that can make people either become very negative and very hostile, and because that's all they're getting fed, right? You get fed all that negativity, all that anger, all that, and it got like I deleted the app. I couldn't even. I was like, nah, this is way too much even for me, But like I said, it can be used for good or for bad. So, but any guys you have questions?
One thing I want to say is that if you take Rory's coaching course, he will teach you. So depending on what audience you're looking for, that's one of the questions he asked me. He said, "What audience are you looking for? Are you looking for a younger generation? Are you looking for your 30s? Are you looking for 40s to 50, 50 to 60? What age range is your audience?" And then Rory is really good at letting you know which platforms you should start working with. Because me, I would have known. I would have just tried to go to all of them, which would have drove me absolutely nuts as a beginner, learning how to monetize platforms. But he will literally teach you, nope, if you're going this age range, you should stick with this platform to begin with and go from there and work your way up instead of trying to take it all on at once. And so I recommend anybody that wants to learn more about social media and platforms and monetization, Rory is the one to go get your coaching from, because he knows exactly where to put you and where to have you start at, because it can get overwhelming at first. And then you're calling people at 3 o'clock in the morning because you don't know what to do. And and Rory can testify to this because I was getting really overwhelmed before I started podcasting. But he is very patient. He walked me through it step by step, and he's so good at what he does. I mean, he could probably do it asleep, I'm sure, at this point, but he really does understand what he's talking about, and he takes you step by step, and it's so easy the way he showed me compared to all of the money I spent. I spent over $10,000 trying to start my podcast, and I got nowhere. And I got on with Rory, and within, I don't know what, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, you had me push and play. I was already recording and push and play and launching a podcast. So I would say if you're really looking for someone and you're really serious about it, definitely would give Rory a call and look him up and be like, hey, well, I don't know about calling him, but message him and be like, because he's usually on the air, so he might interrupt his podcast, but maybe message him and say, hey, what do you have? Because he's really good at that, and he also does speaking. So, which he didn't you just start? How long have you been doing the speaking, Rory? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been speaking for about 15 years. Took a little break, obviously, during that wonderful COVID stint. And that's when, we went towards Zoom calls and things like that. And of course, more into podcasting. But yeah, I've been doing speaking for a long time. I started coaching speakers instead of just doing the speaking myself. And then I coached and spoke at small groups. So I've been doing a lot of small group speaking. My goal for 2026 is to get back on a bigger stage. So that's I'm pretty sure I told you that. So that's a big deal for me. But I do want to say, first of all, you didn't spend $10,000 with me, so don't let anybody else get the wrong idea.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
But yeah, you at the very beginning, especially, you were just anxious, because you had been through some things before, and you were like, am I really going to get this done? And I appreciated the fact that you trusted me and said, look, I'm going to trust one more person. I'm taking one more flyer on this, and we're going to get this done. And you did. So I've always considered that a blessing that you decided to trust me, like with your last shot at trusting anybody. And I am just thrilled to death that it worked out. You have 5 shows now, that you're a part of. That's amazing for somebody who literally was texting me through Messenger at 3:00 in the morning. And not only texting me, but needing a response, like panic. and I loved that because I was like, what is this? I mean, I'm up anyway.
And you were awake. That's what freaked me out. When
you replied scary, back, right there.
I did not know you were going to reply back. I thought, he's going to be irritated with me. And ding, you replied.
Yeah. And then she's like, whoa, I didn't mean for you to reply. I'm like, don't send me a message. But thank you for all that. Yeah. So
don't do me. Don't do like me. Like, you'll give me advice and I'll forget it. So don't do me.
Do what as Mickey I say, does. Not as I do.
Right. Don't do me. Don't learn from me because we'll see.
But thank you for all that. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're excited that you've been our first guest on the show. This is a dream of mine to always have a guest and a co-host, and I have 2 of the coolest people that I can ever ask for to be on the show and to be my co-host. I want us to, like you said, 2026 is going to be a goal where I think the compass is going to be going into more of not a serious thing, but more of a conversational, more than just talking about Batman or anime, or I think there's other parts of that we can encompass into everything. And I think what we're doing today is a big part of that because that's how we communicate also in Fandom. We talk, we have Instagram pages, you have followers, you have people like me with anime. I follow certain anime pages and that's how I get all my information from, and I share that. So I see, that as well. But so another question for both of you. So when you first got on social media at all, like when you first ever, like how crazy was it for you? Like how hard was it to get your foot in there or to feel comfortable in that space? Because I'm trying to let people know that don't be scared, just go in and say hello. Sometimes that's all it takes. But how did you guys, anyone can answer that. So
well, I'm starting to feel like I'm back in the dinosaur ages because you you brought up MySpace. So And we all know where we all started, right? When
Mhm.
the dial up on the computer
Of
and
course.
the waiting 15 minutes thinking it just was never going to work. And yeah, I mean, that's when social media started. But um, I think the area that was big for me is when we started texting one another, when our phones started changing and we started
Mm.
getting conversations, but then we couldn't correlate between are they happy or are they mad? Are they are they serious or are they playing around? Like you couldn't read a person's conversation, but now I think I've gotten pretty good at it, except for now the language, with the younger generation, they make up all these words like sus and whatever. And so I'm like trying to figure out the new language. My grandkids say a word and I'm like, what? I asked him the other day, I asked him, I said, what is the other word you use for cool? He goes, well, it ain't rad. And so I'm getting educated with my texting skills when I'm texting my grandson. He's like, "What are you trying to say, Grandma?" But I've learned a lot over the years how to distinguish people's tone in their conversations, and it's like you have to really be careful with what you say, and you have to learn how to use your words in a way to where you're not effectively hurting someone's feelings because you're trying to like I'm kind of like to the point, and people say I'm too blunt sometimes, and I'll be like, no, I'm just trying to get to the point, like I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to put it out there and not waste all your time. And so I have to be really careful in the way I verbalize things because I don't want people to be offended. So I think social media from the start to finish, I think I've gotten better at recognizing like how I speak and how I come across and how other people come across to me. I don't automatically go, "Oh my gosh, they're mad at me," or "Why are they upset all of a sudden?" or whatever. I can kind of read into it a little bit better than what I used to, and not get so worried about it. And if I have a concern, I ask, "Hey, are you okay? Or are you upset?" Or instead of just assuming, because right off the bat we assume someone is something. And so social media has taught me that even in generalization with my own family, I've learned to, and it probably got taught through social media, is to not assume a person's the way they actually are, what they're saying and how they're coming across and how they're feeling, to assume it's one way if it could be another. And I think that's one thing social media has helped with. But as far as starting up for me, I mean, my English professor told me in college that I was really terrible at grammar, so I'm pretty sure everyone loved being on social media with me because I did not know how to do any of those short abbreviations or any of that for a long time. And I started learning them, and as it's funny how you use all those short terms, kind of like when you're in the courtroom. I feel like I don't think I could be a court
Shorthand.
reporter.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I don't think I could
shorthand.
do it. So, but yeah, I learned a lot. I mean, it does teach you, and you do learn a lot from it. But um, I was never scared of it. I was more excited. I was more excited because I got to, you know, reach out to more people, I think, for me.
Hmm.
But I never thought about it back then as a business like I do now. So now my thinking
Right,
is a little different, if that makes sense.
right, sure.
How about you, Rory?
I
How was your
think
experience?
yeah, for me it was a little different because the reason I got on it was because I was a coach. I coached youth sports forever,
Mm.
and little league and basketball when they were younger, track and field their whole lives, baseball forever, football, all that stuff. And so my boys did all that stuff. My daughter did a bunch of it too. So I was always coaching. And so social media became a great way to communicate to the team, to, highlight players and stuff, and all that. So I got into it that way. And then I quickly became that dad that like all the other dads are annoyed by because I'm always posting all of my victories for, my kids. And, oh man, my older son did this, ran his best time and, did that and had the 5 sacks and an interception in the game and, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be posting a picture of it and talking about it. And, I wrote it up like it was some big dramatic news release. And everybody's like, okay, they'd like it. But I could just tell they were like, enough about your kids, man. Just enough about your kids. We know you think they're great. Move on. So I became that guy. But from the get-go, I viewed social media as a place to motivate other people. I've always done that. I've been a speaker forever. I've been a coach forever. And so I always kind of took it that way, and so I was one of those guys early on that was sending out motivational pictures, and with the tags on the bottom that, kind of make you, go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, and all that. So for me, it was fun. It was a great way to communicate, all the awesome things my kids were doing, and to stay in touch with the teams. So it was positive, very positive most of the time. And then my business was real estate. When all that was coming out, and I owned a very large real estate company, and so we quickly started using social media before anybody else in our area was using it for real estate purposes, to market the agents, to build the branding, everything else. So for me, it kind of happened naturally. I was already on it. I knew what it could do. I made my agents do it, taught them how to do it, everything else. So from the get-go, I think I've been teaching people how to do this, which is a little. I didn't really think about that till just now. I've been doing this for a long time, you guys. Yeah.
But
So
yeah, that's
anyway,
amazing.
that's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think when I got on it, well, first I got, because I'm curious. I'm one of those people that need to know what's going on, like what makes that tick. So when I first heard about Facebook, I was like, what is Facebook? Like, what the heck is all these kids are? And from there, you go down, like they say, into everything. You start to MySpace and YouTube and all these other social media. And like you said, when you first start out, you start out as a fun thing. And then I realized that, well, this is not who I am now. But when I was before, the person I was before, and my social media presence, I was in big nest. I was one of those trolls. I was one of those people that would love to light you up. I'm a good, I honestly, I'm a good talker. I can pretty much make you think that, your eyes are blue when they're green. I can kind of, I'm very good at reading people, which is weird. Even my therapist goes, that's kind of crazy, and I can manipulate that way. And I say that not out as a boast, but I say it as a warning to people that you can become that. You can become that type of person where, you think that all you say is valuable, it's interesting. My whole point in the beginning was, how can I make this person stumble? Like, how can I make them say the wrong thing or get them heated up? Because then that would make me start a conversation with them. Because there are people that I used to see that just talked a lot, but never made a point. So I would push them to make the point, man. You're just babbling, bro. Let's get to the meat. Or if I hear someone babbling and saying garbage, I'll just tell it straight out, like, nah, bro, these are the facts. Or I don't think you're right. And it would get people heated, but it would get people engaged. That was my way. But also, like you said, there are trolls out there that's all they do. That's it. That's their job, period. Let's see how many comments can I get on this person that they can keep commenting on me. Because whoever it comments, they're going to go on that person's page to see who that person is. That means they're going to view your page. That means they go on your page, and if they like what you say, they're going to follow you. So in a way, you, like Rory said, you're helping them grow their craziness by leaving either that up there or even answering back. Now, for me, it's very hard not to answer back. It's extremely hard not to say something, not negative, but to just tell them, like, yo, listen. But thank God, God has given me a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of patience, and thank God for mental health therapy that I cannot get crazy with them because some people, and you guys know that there can be people that just get under your skin, and you're like, oh man, if it wasn't for Jesus, boy, I'd go to jail. Things like that. Like, so I see where I've grown from that, where now I just really want to be, the most positive person, give people the best. But I also want to be the realist. I want to tell you exactly what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I don't understand and why I don't understand it. I will never just say, I don't agree with you. I'll tell you why I don't agree with you, and then please explain to me how I can understand what you're saying. That's my whole vision in this whole podcast, social media world. I just want to have civil discourse with as many people as I can to learn as much as I can about the human people and to show God's love. And I think social media has been a big impact for all of us. Again, I want to thank everyone for being on. Rory, All right, you rock, bro. Thank you so much for being on our show. My bad. I still got to get used to it. Don't mind me. I still got to get used to it. It's only our third show together, which is a lot of fun. Three, yay. Um, Rory, so if you want to just tell people where they can find you, your links, and then we'll set that up in the show notes when we're done. But just let people know where they can reach you, they can talk to you. And then after that, Mickey, I want you to share what you do, what you have planned, all your other stuff, so that you can share that as well. And I'll close out at the end. So, Rory, take it away, my friend.
I appreciate that, man. And it's been great being on, talking to both you guys and, reminiscing about some of the stuff too. So, do you have time for me just to mention my podcast names? Is that okay?
Yes, do all. This is all you now.
I appreciate it. I do have 7 podcasts, so I hope folks will go check out at least one of them. Depends on what fits for you. They're all very different. So I have a Power of Man podcast, helping husbands and fathers to be better men tomorrow than they are today. I've got The Podcaster Nation, which is for any podcaster out there who wants to, hear podcasting tips, stories from behind the mic, so on and so forth. Wake Up the Lions, which is for Christians to come on and share their testimony and encourage others to do the same. The 4th one is Step Up to the Mic, which is for aspiring and current speakers to bring their message out and actually do their talk uninterrupted for the world. And then they have a link that they can use to go get speaking jobs. I have one called The Right Path, which is WRITE, Right Path. It highlights authors, but more importantly than the book is the story behind the book with the authors that come on. I have one that is called Real Talk for Realtors, with the number 4 in there, Real Talk for Realtors, where we highlight realtors around the country and talk about different, things that they do to help their business. And then finally, we have one that I co-host with somebody that you guys probably both know. I know Mickey does. I co-host with a lady named Brandon Lynette, and it's called Boiling Point, Faith and Fire, and it's a political podcast that is faith-based. And so those are my 7. Look them all up. If you're trying to reach me, I am really simple. Go to Facebook / Instagram. Same thing, really. At Rory Paquette, name's on the screen right there. At Rory Paquette, all one word. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and all you need to know about me, my podcast, everything I do is all on those feeds. So come look me up. Would love to help anybody who needs the help in any of those ways.
Thank you, Rory. That's amazing. Mickey, take it away.
Well, thank you for that. And Rory, again, glad to have you on our show. I do have 5 podcasts, this being one of them. This is, I actually co-host 3 shows and have 2. Well, I have guests on my Crushing Strongholds podcast, but I do also do solo episodes on there. And then I have a solo episode one for Until My Watch is Over, which is for people that have dementia. Whether you're a caregiver, you are struggling with it yourself, or you just want to find out awareness about it. You can come on the show and talk about it. You can learn from it, and you can watch it. We have Truth Be Told, and that is a gal that I went to the academy with, and she is super, super knowledgeable in the Bible. I love listening to her because she really understands. She does a lot of studying, and she's really fun to do a podcast with. And then we have this podcast, which is a lot of fun too. And then my friend Trish and I have our podcast. But Crushing Strongholds was the first one I started. And it is a faith-based podcast where I just want to encourage people to overcome obstacles or strongholds that hold them back from God's given purpose. Because I feel like we all could go that extra mile. Sometimes we just have something holding us back. We have to figure out what that is. We have to get to the root of that. And so I do coaching with that podcast. And I have a lot going on with that, different types of coaching sessions that you can get with me through crushingstrongholds.com. That's how you can find me on that one. And then, of course, the Compass Chronicles with Javier. You post that information. So yeah, it's all exciting. A lot of stuff on social media.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm excited for everything. I want to be involved in everything. I want to be a guest on all the shows. That's just me. I love being guest on all the shows. For me, as you guys know, I have my Compass Chronicles podcast, which has been my baby for the last couple of years. I have I have a bunch, and Rory knows, and Mickey knows, I have so many plates I use. I have, everything is under Grace and Grind Ministries. I have my podcast. Also, I have a music studio image creation. It's called the Sasquatch Syndicate Studio, where we do music. We are on Spotify. We are on anywhere you find music. Just look up Sasquatch Syndicate, and we have so many bands, any type of music you like, from praise and worship to thrash metal. I have on there, all faith-based, all positive, nothing negative. I also gonna announce it here, and I've been announcing it everywhere. I'm looking to start a new podcast called Hymns to Headbangers, which is I want to talk to people who are in the music industry, in the Christian music industry, or anyone that's a praise and worship leader, anything like that that's in the music field. And I'll talk about where Christian music has come from, where it's a hymnal, to where we have thrash metal, hardcore, metalcore, Christian music, which I truly love. But that's, I want to meet those people, and I want to be able to, show people that too. So that's in the works now. Looking to see how to get that started. But you can find us at graceandgrindministries.com. You will see everything there, from the podcast to the books I've written, to the studio, to the I have devotionals. I have one for anime fans and one for people who love comic books. So, but it's all to show God's love and to show people that Christ is real, and that, his foundation is what we stand on. So I want to thank everyone for joining us, for watching us, for listening to us, having the patience to be with us. We thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we will see you on the next one. And I think the next one's going to be even cooler. So stay tuned. Take care. God bless.
You've been listening to the Compass Chronicles podcast, where fandom meets faith. Hosted by Javier and Mickey. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this conversation gave you something worth thinking about and carrying forward. Be sure to follow the show for new episodes as we continue exploring faith through the stories shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep your compass pointed true.